helping you with Acorn and RiscOS computing.
Oh, good grief. It's so bright now I can't see any of you, so hope you're still there.
Consider yourself lucky.
So, that's slightly awkward actually, because one of the first things I was going to do was ask you for a quick show of hands if you don't have RiscOSM, because I want to know, actually, if anyone who doesn't have this RiscOSM software. Okay, a couple of people, 3 people, right. I will do a quick intro to it along the way, but not in too much depth because there's an awful lot to the application. So I'm going to be talking about a couple of new, one new application and a couple of new releases, updates today, mainly centered around our RiscOSM mapping software. So RiscOSM is this application down here, and it's for drawing maps. And you can type in the name of the place. I'm just going to put Cedar Court Hotel. Choose the one in Bradford rather than Yorkshire. And it will load and draw a map of the area. RiscOSM is... sorry, I'm just finding the discussion at the back of the room a little bit distracting. Would you mind lowering your voices a bit? Thank you. So RiscOSM is an offline mapping application. The data comes from OpenStreetMap, which is like the Wikipedia of maps, with contributors, thousands of contributors all around the world, mapping their local area. And we download the data from OpenStreetMap and convert it into a form which is quick to load into RiscOSM. So the data is typically on your hard drive. It's about a gigabyte of data for the British Isles. Everyone's got massive hard drives now. What better to fill them up with than map data? And it draws maps which are basically draw files, and so we can quite easily export from draw, from RiscOSM into draw. So export map. In fact, we've got options for PNG and JPEG and Sprite as well. And you can then obviously, once you've got into the draw or artworks or any other package, you can easily reuse it. Because it's not actually bitmap tile based like a lot of the online services, you can do wonderful things with it, like changing the features. So supposing we don't want to have any, sorry, this window is slightly off the screen. My screen down here is slightly smaller than what you're seeing on the projector, so I can't quite see the title bar. So, there we are. Right, get it a bit shorter, then I'll be able to see it too. So you can turn features on and off like this, but you can also, if you want to, change the style of things. So supposing you don't like motorways being blue, we can make them a vivid purple colour instead, and then update the map. And here we have the north end of this motorway arriving just by the Cedar Court Hotel, the M606, in a most revolting colour. But with a bit more effort, you can produce things which look really nice. You can turn features on and off. I can get rid of the bus stops if I want to, and all sorts of things like that. So there's lots of advantages to having this vector-based map format. Anyhow, over the years, we have developed extra features that sit around RiscOSM. And some of these have been done in conjunction with other folk, like the good Chris Hall, who's sitting here, who has hardware that picks up satellite signals. So SatNav is his contribution to this whole infrastructure. It picks up your signals from GPS hardware and sends messages to any application that needs it to tell you where you are in the world. And if you go along to his stand, he'll show you the Pine book that he's got with that kind of thing connected, and you can actually be on the move with RiscOS and know exactly where you are. To do that, we devised a messaging protocol to allow different applications to talk geographical data to each other. So SatNav can talk to any other application that wants to know that information. But we've also got a lot of applications that talk with RiscOSM. So one of these is RiscOSM, which is this one down here with the little binoculars. And it goes and gets all sorts of data from open APIs around on the web. So we can go and get details of road traffic collisions, for example, from a big database. If I go and fetch them, we will see quite a lot of collisions around this area. It will show you the colors indicate whether they're car occupants or pedestrians or maybe cyclists are the yellowy ones. The intensity of the color is to do with the severity of the collision. So that's getting stuff from an API that's out there. We have access, we can pull pictures from Google Street View, and it's obviously not the same interface that you get in your browser, but we try to make it as functional as possible. And in some cases, actually, I find it slightly more functional than what you get on the web browser. You can export the JPEGs and everything. Obviously, with new browsers coming along for RiscOS, there's less of a need for this kind of thing, perhaps, but it's still great fun to be able to integrate it into the map. We've also got being able to load details of planning applications and the weather. So if we want to know what the weather is like, we can go and ask for a forecast. See whether it improves tomorrow, or quite a lot of rain in the afternoon, etc. Now, of course, it's not that convenient to have to draw a map before you can then ask for the weather. So we have now improved RiscOSM to have a weather option down here on the icon bar. And this opens up a little window, and you can put in the location that you are intending to go to find out what the weather is like there. So let's try Kendall in the Lake District. Now, when I started typing there, you'll see it came up with a lot of different place names. These are coming from the gazetteer, which is built when we convert the data from OpenStreetMap for use with RiscOSM. Up till now, it's only been RiscOSM that's been able to access that. But we've now done some exciting new developments which make it very easy for any RiscOS application to access all of this location information. So let me just demonstrate again, just prove we can do this. So Kendall will get this weather display. Now, what is actually happening there is that this bit here, which allows you to select the place, isn't actually provided by the RiscOSM application at all. It's provided by a sister application called Nomine. Now, Nomine accesses an online data service called Nomine, which is part of the OpenStreetMap infrastructure. And with that, you can do all sorts of exciting things like looking up, I don't know, we could look up a place or a house even, if we put in an address like this, 16 Lynn Close, Oxford, press return, it will then actually work out exactly where that is in New Marston, and we can get a weather forecast for there. So there's a whole load of different ways that Nomine can help. It can use the postcode databases, it can use the gazetteer from OpenStreetMap, and it can use its online service, which has details of all the buildings that are on OpenStreetMap, all the place names, lots of points of interest, and so on. So the way this then interacts, RiscOSM effectively, behind the scenes, RiscOSM sends Nomine a message saying, I've got a window here, here is the window handle, and I want a place selector to be shown in this area of the window. Nomine then opens a child window, and when the user types in that, that's Nomine doing all of the work. The author of the application doesn't have to worry about that. When a place is selected, then the fact it's been selected gets passed back. The parent application can then activate its button for whatever action it is to take place, and the latitude and longitude of the location is passed through to the client application. So you get all sorts of facilities like this. And we have also developed and are releasing today a new application called A to B. A to B, as you might expect, is for planning routes, how to get from A to B. You'll see there's a similarity here. We're using the same place selector that Nomine is providing, but you'll see the window is quite a bit wider. Nomine is able to adjust the size of its furniture, the icons, and so on to suit how the application wants to use the place selector. So it's quite versatile. And you'll notice I didn't mention this little menu that's just to the right of the place selector. That's actually a little list of all of the places that you've looked up recently, the last 10. So those are shared across all the different applications because Nomine is behind the scenes providing all of that. So supposing we want to go from the Cedar Court Hotel, Cedar Court Hotel, it will give us a little menu, and we want the Bradford one this year, not the Denby Dale Road. And then I want to go somewhere in Wakefield. Now, supposing actually, I can't quite remember the name of the place I'm going to, but I know where it is on the map. I can double-click on this little flag icon here, and RiscOSM will open a map of the middle of Wakefield. And I didn't want to go to Wakefield Cathedral. The place I want to go to is Harry's Fish and Chips, just over here. And you'll see when I drop the pin that Harry's Fish and Chips, Kirkgate, Wakefield, has appeared in my A to B window. So lots of things going on here. A to B is the application that's going to do the route planning in a moment. Nomine is providing these place selectors seamlessly, as though they're really part of another application. And it's working together with RiscOSM to put things on the map and to be able to get information back from the map. If I want to add a via point, for example, I can just drop a pin onto the map straight away like that. And if I want to go via Market Street in Wakefield, we will get a route. I'm going to go and cycle this journey. It's not too far from Cedar Court Hotel. Oh, hang on, we were in Bradford. This is going to be a little bit further. Anyway, suppose I want a cycle journey. I can go for the quietest or the fastest or a balanced route. The route planner has all these different options. There's also driving and walking. So we'll try this quietest route by bike. And up pops a window here, which again I can't quite see the whole of. Down on my monitor. There we are. And it's telling us the total distance, 17 miles, of which a bit of it is going to be walking, including some steps, and an estimated journey time of 2.5 hours. It's giving us detailed directions. Now, you'll see that these arrows that we got to show you what to do are actually quite complicated. That's because we are taking the information that comes back from this online service. It gives us the exact route across the territory, including, the latitude and longitude of all the places where you need to turn. And we're able to then construct little graphics of every single junction to help you understand what you're going to be doing. what the need is at every turn. We can then show this on the map again. So that will push it through to RiscOSM. And RiscOSM has opened its photo window because it's got a photo to display over here as well. Now, where are we? This is where there's something slight bug in this program at the moment because the roots aren't coming across as thick and as colourful as they ought to be. Let's get this sorted out. Line width. Put a bit of a brighter colour on it. I'm not sure that actually worked quite right. Anyhow, you can see when I highlight it that that's the route that it's provided for us. A to B has quite a lot of export options. You can print the instructions. It'll give you a print preview in Draw Print. You can export as a draw file, as you'd expect. GPX, which you could load into a mobile device. For example, the Osmand application on Android will accept GPX files, and then it'll be able to tell you where you need to go as you travel along. HTML is an interesting option that will actually export an HTML file and export all of the turn pictures as PNG files. You can then load that into other applications. It's not just visible in a web browser. EasyWriter, for example, will load HTML along with the PNGs, and then you can do some editing in EasyWriter to reformat it or do what you want. The text file will just have all of the journey instructions, obviously. There's also CSV, which includes all of the points on the map. If I just drop that onto RiscOSM, which can import CSV, there is an interesting thing going on at the top of the screen there, which I think indicates another little bug. But anyway, you get a great big CSV file with all of the longitudes and latitudes, and in this particular case, you also get the elevation, because I should have shown you actually, if we look at the particular track here, with the cycle route planner, it will give you the elevation because that's often a consideration as to whether you're going mainly downhill or mainly uphill. It looks like it would be easier to cycle from here to Wakefield than back again. Yeah. Anyhow, that's basically what A to B does. Just trying to think whether there's other things to talk about there. You can plan multiple routes. I mean, if we wanted to edit the route and decide actually we'd prefer to drive it, that will then do it like that, and we can put that route onto the map as well. As you can see, it's going a completely different direction along the main roads. You can copy the journey and create a brand new one, and so on. So it's very versatile and hopefully quite useful. We also have, I mean, so RescOSM and A to B are the first two applications which are using this new place selector feature. And one of the things I was just going to demo quickly is it's not just typing in a place name, typing in a postcode or a description of a place. You can use that pin to drop onto the map. You can use the recent searches menu. But there are also other types of thing you can do. For example, RiscOSM can export a location in various forms. This one says Batley, and it'll be a little file. If I just drop it on the RAM disk, I'll just show you what that looks like inside. It's just a little file with a geo colon and then a longitude, latitude and a longitude, and a scale. If we drop one of these onto the selector, it will fill it in. It doesn't know the name of the place, but it has put the latitude and the longitude on. And if we double-clicked to see where it was on the map, you'll see it has now put Howley Mill Lane back into the selector because RiscOSM knows more information about the place. But there's also other types of file which can have location information in. Lots of phones will take pictures with the latitude and longitude stored in there, so we can drop that on the selector, and it will pick a latitude and longitude from that. I think this will give us a very long route because that one will be going off all the way to Durham and back in order to be able to get the view of Prevens Bridge in Durham City. So yeah, it's a really very versatile place selector, and it's a simple message protocol which anyone could use to build into another application. Doesn't matter what that application is written in, because essentially Nominatim is doing all the hard work of doing the display and responding to the user, and all it does is simply then send the application a little message when the place has been selected. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's take-up of that. We've documented it all fully with the new Nominatim release, and we'll see what inventive uses other people might want to put that to. So another little application we've written, which hasn't yet been released, but will be shortly, we hope, is one called police data. It's sitting down there. And if we go into the centre of Wakefield, you'll see up on this menu for finding web photos and geodata, as well as the things which RiscOSM has previously been providing, there is this option for crimes. And we fetch that, and it'll then show crimes recorded by the police in the last month, I think is how it does it. You may start getting alarmed at this point and decide never to go out of your house again, especially as you realize that all the blue is violent crime, the green is public order offences, and goodness knows what. It doesn't unfortunately tell you what time of day you need to avoid these areas, but I think we can all guess. Yes. So anyhow, the main reason we wanted to write this application wasn't to scare you all witless, but because often with these web APIs that provide data, when you interact with them, you have to register and you have to have a secret developer key, which will only be used by you. And it's quite difficult to release software that doesn't kind of divulge that to everyone if you're writing it in a way which is easy for other people to learn from. Now, the police application, you know, we could have incorporated all of that into RiscOSM, but then it's written in C, and you haven't got the source code, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. But because the police API is totally open, you can just go and talk to it without any registration whatsoever. We've written this police data application in BASIC, so it's quite an easy entry point for people to understand how to talk to an API using BASIC, how to deal with the data that comes back, and how to then send that information on to RiscOSM through the messaging protocol that we've devised. So I hope that will be an interesting thing that, you know, if other people are inspired to try and interact with some of the wealth of information that's out there, that might give them a pointer as to how to do it. Yeah, so that's one of the other little things which we're hoping to be releasing shortly once I've found the version with all the corrections, which we didn't manage to bring with us, which must be still sitting on a machine at home. Anyway, we'll now take a diversion into something totally different. Last year at the show, I did a little preview of something we were working on for our impact database and the little application that goes with Impact, Imp Email. Imp Email is a mail merging email client. So in conjunction with Impact or Powerbase, it can be used to send emails to a number of people in one batch with personalized wording for them. So maybe their name and the information you might want from a database to be inserted into the email. Obviously, their email address will probably be in the database as well. So it's a useful little application. It can also work with CSV files. It's been able to do that for a few years now. So what I just wanted to demonstrate is not in that folder. It is somewhere else. Tutorial, there we are. We have added some extra features to Imp Email to make it even more capable. This is a little example of an email template. And you can see we've got the email is coming from Mr. Baggins in Hobbiton. And there's a template here. This is where I need to use that little pointer thing. At the top, it's got a to field, and it's going to take it from the name in the CSV, and it's going to take the email column from the CSV as well. And the subject is party on, and then the date is also taken from the CSV. So we've got a message here which is saying, you know, dear so-and-so, I discovered via Twitter that you're all planning to descend on me for an unexpected party. As we are rather house-proud, I would rather organise things properly. You're not all able to fit in at once, so half of you are going to come on one date and half of you on another. And could you please bring such and such as a contribution to the food? So all of that is going to come from the CSV file. I'll drop that CSV file on here, and you'll get a flavour for what it's all like. So here we are. We've got on the left-hand side the name column, Thorin and Fili and Kili and all those other dwarves, their email addresses, which Bilbo has somehow obtained from somewhere, and the dates that they're due to come. It's either the 10th or the 17th of April, and what they should be bringing as the contribution. So that's something that we've been able to do for a few years. But Bilbo's quite fussy about this kind of thing. He would like them each to have a nice invitation attached to the email. And what we've got here, sitting down here, is an attachment. We've been able to send out attachments with Imp Email for a long time, and those attachments could be coming from particular places based on what was in the database, providing you had the files prepared in advance. But we're now taking it one step better. This is an Ovation profile. Impression is also supported in this way. If I load the Ovation profile separately into here, you can see, again, it's got these merge commands for merging different data from the database, and it's going to lay it out in a nice format. Ovation Pro has been supported by Impact for mail merging for many, many years. That's been a standard part of the package. But the new thing is being able to send an email, have an attachment that is also going to be mail merged. And here's a little demo. So we'll just take one of them and test it. It'll open the thing over here. You'll see it's got the right name in. After a little bit of thinking time, PDF conversion complete, and you'll see down there's a PDF now of the Ovation Pro document. So that's been performed by Steve Fryett's print PDF application. The new development has been that Steve has very kindly added a facility so that any application, before it prints, can send a message to Print PDF saying, I'm about to print, could you please put this file here, rather than asking the user for where to put it. So then, once it's finished, Print PDF confirms it's finished, and the application can then pick it up. And in the case of Imp Email, it's going to attach it to this message. So lo and behold, if we open the invitation, there it is. It's not in Ovation Pro format. It's not in impression format. But put it this way, most of your email recipients would not be able to cope with those formats anyway. You've got a nice, friendly PDF ready for them to print off. all sorts of applications for this, whether it's membership forms or invitations or membership cards or goodness knows what, vouchers for things. You could do all sorts of stuff with this. So that's a nice development we're really pleased with, and a good bit of cooperation. It's showing the strengths of RiscOS with lots of little applications, some big, some smaller, all working together in this common infrastructure and providing useful stuff for everyone to benefit from. And I think that's pretty much all I've got to demonstrate, but I'm very happy to take a few questions. If anyone wants to see anything extra about any of these applications, a bit more of a demo of RiscOSM, for example, very happy to do that now, or you can come back to our stand after the talk. Any comments or questions?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
The A to B utility, is there any plans to put in public transport?
Now, public transport's a tricky one. When we were first developing A to B actually 3 years ago, and we were getting ready for the Wakefield show in 2020. We were in the early stages of development. We hadn't got anywhere near as far with all this stuff with the place selectors. And we had some public transport information working quite nicely, using an API from transportapi.com. Unfortunately, there was then a bit of a pandemic. While we were testing, suddenly all the buses disappeared from the API because the timetables were all, well, goodness knows what was happening during the first lockdown. And that's basically when we stopped developing for a while, because we had other things on our minds. When we came back to it, unfortunately, the Transport API now has quite a hefty charge on it, even for home use. I think the cheapest option is about £5 a month. And that's fairly limited as to how many calls you can make of it per day. There is a more expensive option, which is what we might have to go for if we were going to release an application with public transport in it. Now, it would be interesting to do that, but it's hard to know, hard to gauge whether there are sufficient RiscOS users who would want this for us to pay the bill to a party outside the RiscOS market who I'm not particularly happy about how much they're charging for this information. So it is technically possible, I think, but there are these obstacles, and we'd like to just see how the other route planning goes a little bit and then consider. It's been quite a lot of work to get to this point. There will be more development needed for the public transport, but it would be really good to do that because it's a nice API and it gives really good information. Albeit at a substantial cost, unfortunately. So, yeah. If you are interested, do let us know. We'll see if there's a way of doing it. I mean, I know that Kevin Wells released KevNav about a year after we'd started working on A to B, actually. And that was pretty good at doing the public transport stuff to start with. But again, that's been caught up with the same problem with the API keys and not being able to do this for free anymore, which is a bit of an obstacle. Anyone else? A lot of silence. Well, either you're totally happy or totally bored. So whichever, we'd probably better clear out. And thank you very much for coming.
Very happy. Thank you.
And yeah.